I'm your host, Eddie Lynch, and we're live. Here we go. This is going to be my very last podcast for a little while. I'm going silent everywhere. You're not going to be able to follow me on... Well, you can, but I just really won't interact or anything like that for, at least a little while. Unless I put my account on private or something. But anyway, the point is I'm going silent for a little bit, so this is going to be my very last podcast for a little while. I am not being joined by Jordan, David, or Ed Enigma. This is an Eduardo Asylum final edition for now, is what I guess we'll title it. And let's get into Extreme Rules 2017, because why the hell not? And apart from that, I did not see this week's episodes of WWE SmackDown or Raw, so I will not be going into reviews on any of that. However, I did hear some cliff notes through the wire. So Samoa Joe choking out Paul Heyman, good little storyline build right there. Lana versus Naomi makes no sense. I don't see why she gets one unless they address that next week on SmackDown and say that the only reason Lana is getting and I could see this happening. So let's say we get a contract signing this week. Lana gets all cocky about she gets whatever she wants and all this and that. However, Shane McMahon could easily cut her off and say, wow, I really can't think, and say the only reason you're in this title match is because everyone else is in the Money in the Bank ladder match, something like that, just to kind of cut her legs a little bit, just that way it makes sense. You also have something that makes sense, or at least that's what I think should be done. However, if you don't want to, whatever. Still makes no sense if you ask me. So that's kind of my thought on Lana versus Naomi. Again, I can get why they do it. I think they should address it just to kind of give the fans, those who really care for storyline like me, a little bit of a clear the air explanation, I guess. So, with that being said, let's get into Extreme Rules this time around. So, the first match of the night, and I'm going to start with the kickoff show because I was really impressed by this match. We got Apollo Crews versus Kalisto, and we got to see a lot more creativity from them. Jesus Christ, how do I start a tournament here? how the hell do I fight anyone here? It just takes forever for some reason. No, sorry about that. My Podbean listeners are gonna be so confused now. No, so yeah, I was really enjoying this match. There's great banter from Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews. I thought that was pretty cool. It builds character for Apollo, which has been desperately needed for him for the longest time. Kalisto has a horrendous theme song that I hate. I can't understand why they gave him that theme. I kind of preferred the traditional Latin style theme that he had versus this ugly techno whatever. It is what it is. If you ask me, I think he needs a new theme now. I mean, typically you don't go back to your old original theme, so it's not like we'll see that, but hopefully he gets another theme, because that theme won't do anything for him. Which, by the way, during this match, Kalisto regained a lot of confidence in my eyes and in the fans, because, he was getting cheered a lot. And I don't know if part of that is because he's working with Apollo Crews, who also is kind of floundering. But, I mean, the guy, he's clearly regained a lot of pre-promo confidence, and the reason I say pre-promo confidence is because of that one horrendous Talking Smack promo that dropped his confidence a lot, and eventually he was just working with dead crowds who were not into him. That was literally almost a career killer for him. So it's good to see the guys regaining all that momentum back. I really do hope he gets in a higher spot one of these days. He needs to work his character, find out who he's all about, rather than just being a poor man's Rey Mysterio. Because no offense to Kalisto, but that's what he is at this point.
Welcome to the King of
So,
Fist Tournament 7.
Anyway, let's get into this match because I'm kind of ranting on these two. So we got Kalisto. He was really hitting it well. Like we saw this was my favorite spot. So I don't even know what to call this because he springboarded onto one rope, or like he hung on one of the ropes and then just kind of like he did like a somersault plancha on the middle rope on the outside of it. It was like an outside somersault plancha, but he was like facing Apollo, so I thought it was really cool when he did that. There was just like many amazing spots like that. I thought the finish of the match made sense with Apollo Crews asking Titus O'Neil what to do next. Now personally, I don't really agree with Apollo Crews asking Titus O'Neil what to do next, but it does make sense because since Titus O'Neil, Apollo Crews has been winning a lot of matches, so it would only make sense that Apollo Crews would be kind of dependent on Titus O'Neil. So with Titus O'Neil coming out and like trying to tell Apollo Crews what to do next, it became really apparent for Apollo that he needs Titus, and again, that's good character development. But not only was that good character development, but it also helps with the finish, which it tied into the finish. We saw, so they're arguing for a little bit, and then Kalisto, he goes in, he gets the Salida del Sol off Apollo's distraction, which is it was kind of obvious once you saw it. It was a bit of a rough finish, but it's okay. I can understand it wasn't going to look perfect. I'll give it a pass on that one. Honestly, it's been both of their best matches in a long time. Kalisto since his TLC match, in my opinion, because honestly, I've had yet to see a really good Kalisto match. And that's not to say he's a bad worker or nothing, but since that TLC tag match where he did, the Salida del Sol off the ladder, he's just been kind of floundering water for a little bit, and again, good to see him have one of the matches of his career in a long time. I can't remember if those matches with Del Rio were any good, but again, good to see the guy shine again. Apollo Crews hasn't had a match this good since NXT, and even back in NXT, I can't really remember if he had anything this good in a long time. So, good kudos to both of them getting their shine time, or taking their time to shine. The match was beautifully paced. I really enjoyed it. So yeah. Next, we both start with Dean Ambrose versus The Miz. All right, so this is the show starter, and I'm kind of glad because the thing about it is you're at a pay-per-view titled Extreme Rules, and the stipulation is added that disqualification is allowed, and that and if the champion is disqualified, that reverses the decision. That basically champion's advantage is revoked here. So honestly, I can't understand why this was played on Extreme Rules. I think in storyline it makes no sense, but you know, it does make sense. You want to get that belt off of the Miz, which in my opinion could have been done on a Raw, and it would have made for an even better episode of Raw. It would have made for a really good title. Don't get me wrong, you could still have had a really cool title match. Like have a hardcore match for with Dean Ambrose, and like let them do some crazy spots. Let Dean Ambrose show his wild side. Because let's face it, we're not getting extreme Ambrose. We're getting, you know, wacky Ambrose. And honestly, let's have the Miz go over on it, because that would be a good rub on the Miz. It would. Everyone loves him as Intercontinental Champion, and why not have him beat Ambrose? That'll be a pretty good elevation to Miz, and then we could starting into Great Balls of Fire pay-per-view, we could get another fresh program. You know, Miz versus maybe Elias Sampson, because he's kind of getting over, but you know, he's got that heat. So like he's that character that everybody loves to hate. You know, it's certainly not go away heat for those even suggesting such a thing. Damn it, I lost. Oh, never mind. No, but anyway.
Round 4.
Anyway, let's get into the match itself. It was good stuff. It starts off really technical. We had Ambrose. He was, you know, taking a lot of damage from Miz. Miz, especially early on. Like, if you notice, Miz had a lot of offense, and very clean offense. It's not like he like gave him a low blow behind the knee, behind the ref's back or anything. And he had a really big mean streak. So I thought that was kind of intriguing. It makes me wonder if he had a mean streak the next night on Raw, you know, during his match or something. Because I missed Raw, so I don't know. But if he doesn't have a mean streak following this, then it really doesn't make sense for him to have that mean streak that he did have. And Ambrose, here's another thing I don't understand, is why Ambrose wasn't more scrappy. He didn't brawl as much. He was, you know, he was very nice about his he was very nice about his match. He's a good work. He did a good work, but it's just like at an environment like this where he should be, you know, trying to stick it to the Miz, punch his teeth in. I'm not saying, you know, go dirty, because he's not heel, but he should be, you know, trying to win. He should be that fighting champion that he says he is. And how are you gonna buy yourself as a fighting champion if you're not fighting, you know? So Ambrose, of course, had his spots here and there. We saw him do his, you know, his wacky line, his freaking Michael Cole's commentary. I prefer Mauro Ranallo's lunatic lariat. So I really miss Mauro Ranallo. I remember when he introduced that lunatic lariat name, and honestly, if Mauro Ranallo were commentating for Raw, he'd probably have a name for Seth Rollins' finisher name. Which, by the way, did anyone notice that Seth Rollins doesn't have a name for his finisher? I don't understand why. So anyway, it was a good match, but it was nothing short of typical at the same time. We saw pretty much the same, you know, same spots. A few pretty good spots, like Dean Ambrose, he leaped over the Miz into a sunset flip, but then Miz managed to counter that into a figure four. I thought that was really cool. Ambrose, he stole the figure four, which I thought was also really cool. You know, I like seeing move steals in matches sometimes. of course, they never win off of him, which I always kind of wish they did, but I knew for a fact that wasn't going to be the finish of the match. Following that, we got Miz doing his horrendous Daniel Bryan kicks, which doesn't make sense anymore. Him doing those yes kicks, they just don't make sense. Like, why is Daniel Bryan doing those kicks now? Like, he's on Raw, he doesn't see Daniel Bryan anymore. So why he's trying to stick it to Daniel Bryan when Daniel Bryan probably doesn't even watch Raw? It's like, I don't know. It's like if Samoa Joe were to get drafted over to SmackDown and then start cutting promos on Kurt Angle. It just, like, psychologically, it doesn't make sense anymore. And honestly, I've been meaning to say this for a while now, but Ambrose should not be selling for those horrendous kicks that Miz does. I mean, it makes him look like a scrub. Honestly, that's a move you use on a scrub. When Miz first started doing it, he started doing it on, like, you know, little scrubbish people. Or, I wouldn't even say scrubs, just people who are kind of lower beneath the food chain, if that makes sense. So for him to do it on a mid-carder / main eventer in Ambrose, it demotes Ambrose more than it does elevate Miz. Now, the next thing I want to get into here, and keep in mind I had to take some notes here because I couldn't keep up with all of it, you know, and this is not my first time taking notes during a match, or during a pay-per-view, anyway, so, let's see, okay, let's get into the finish now. So, here we go, Dean Ambrose, he pretty much almost got disqualified. I thought this was a pretty cool, because this is part one of the finish that I thought was really cool. So I don't know what happened per se, but I think Dean Ambrose was like getting favored by the ref or something like that, and the Miz, he's hung up on the ropes. He's telling Maurice to slap him, completely telling him to slap him. And right as the ref catches him slapping, perfect timing for the ref to catch him getting slapped too. So he starts getting slapped, and then the ref, he sees it. He goes to kick Maurice out, and that's where, you know, Miz thought, okay, he was going to disqualify him. And this is the best thing about this segment, because, like, I don't know if, like, because, like, in storyline, it could play both ways. Like, Miz either obviously knew it, or he had to think quick and push Ambrose into the referee, which was the next thing that happened, because right as he kicked out Maurice, the ref is just in the ropes still yelling at Maurice. Miz, he pushes Ambrose into the referee and then knocks him out, and then the ref, he gets up, he's like, okay, I'm going to disqualify you now. And he's heading over to the bell, and Ambrose is following the ref, trying to follow him. And here's the funny thing, like, the ref is really teasing that he was gonna ring the bell. But then Miz follows up on the skull-crushing finale, and then for some reason just stops the disqualification anyway, and then he just counts to the 3. And 1, 2, 3, the Miz just won. And, you know, I thought it was a really creative finish. I don't think I have ever seen that before. So it was a typical match, but a great finish. So yeah, definitely watch for that finish if you guys are into it. But honestly, other than that, it's not so much, it's not really anything special, except for, I guess, a few spots that I thought were really cool, like the sunset flip finish. And anyway, let's get on to the next match, which was Sasha Banks and Rich Swann versus Noam Dar and Alicia Fox. Probably the worst, probably the worst impression. But all right, so Rich Swann, he gets a nice reaction, and I put this in my notes, not realizing he was in his hometown to begin with. But you know, that was I thought that was pretty cool for Rich Swann. So the match starts off with Swann chopping Noam Dar pretty much around the town, you know, until Sasha Banks gets called in, and it was not long for Sasha Banks to hit a bank statement on Alicia Fox. And by the way, these two I think need a lot more chemistry, Sasha Banks and Alicia, honestly. Because these two, like, you know, they're very clustery. You know, it's almost like watching Becky and Alexa, which, again, those two are not bad workers. They're great workers. What am I talking about? But when they work together, it's like they have no chemistry in the ring. And it's kind of frustrating to me, for me to see that. Because, like, I like these two workers a lot. I like these two a lot. Alexa Bliss, I've always said she needs a little more in-ring chemistry, but still, she's not a bad worker. So, you know, we see them work the very slow pace, these two. And again, it's just kind of clustery when I'm watching these two. So let's get into
Round 4.
Rich Swann and Noam Dar. They're very stiff. These two were very stiff. We saw that. We saw like a couple of chops from Noam Dar that were really, really hard. And then Swann gave his like really stiff kick. You know, his spin kick, but it was even harder than usual. That's what she said. and so, you know, I noticed that was kind of his thing. Sasha Banks did the double knees to Noam Dar. Looked a lot nicer than if she were to do it on Alicia Fox, that's for sure. Rich Swann capitalizes on that and hits the Phoenix Splash. Overall, a decent match. Overall, decent. Wasn't entirely sold on this match. I think this could have passed off for the pre-show and then have Kalisto versus Apollo Crews in the middle, because honestly that was a much better match than this. Next we had Elias Sampson singing. What was even the point of this? Like, I laughed at this segment because, like, first off, as soon as he starts singing, he really got booed just right out the building. I thought that was funny. He gets some really good heat. Good for him. But it really made no sense to me that he was just singing for no reason, and nothing was followed up on this. It's not like Dean Ambrose came out to work a program with him, which, by the way, that's the next rumored program. So for those of you Ambrose/Sampson fans, I'm sure you guys will be very much excited to see that match. So yeah, there was really no point to that. It makes me kind of wonder if something was supposed to happen, but then they just kind of missed their cue or whatnot. Next, we had Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. Whoever came up with the layout of this match needs to seriously get demoted. This was terrible. Alright. First off, this build-up was really bad to begin with. I mean, if that wasn't enough, holy crap, I got a match for you. Alright, so let's get into my notes a little bit here. First, let's start a match real quick. Throw something out for you guys. Forget it. Online is taking too long for this. So, anyway, let's get on with Bayley versus Alexa Bliss. So, it was a very cat and mouse game. And I mean a very, very much cat and mouse game. I mean, so the match starts off with Bayley and Alexa. They both start talking a little trash to each other. Okay. And after that, we saw them going on with Bliss, baiting forgive me, baiting Bayley to get the kendo stick that was on the pole, and excuse me, and then of course you got Bliss attacking Bayley from behind. How she did not scout that, being a former NXT Women's Champion and a former Women's Champion, is beyond me. I really can't believe that Bayley would really fall for that in storyline. So there was that for the first part. So Alexa's working Bayley for a little bit. Alexa gets the bull. She starts whacking Bayley with the stick. To which Bayley eventually counters Alexa. She gets the pole herself. And then next thing you know, Bayley she works a slight mean streak. She doesn't hit her with the pole yet. She gets the pole. My bad. So sorry, I just checked my notes to make sure I had them correct. But anyway, forget my chronological order. I mean, I wasn't really chronological with the Ambrose Miz review anyway. But anyway, so after Bayley gets the pole, pretty much nothing happens for her. Nothing. The next thing we see is you know, she starts chasing Alexa Bliss around. This is where the cat and mouse starts, or well, continues, or becomes very apparent. So Alexa Bliss gets chased down the ring. Bayley finally catches up to her, and she hesitates to hit her with the pole. Of course she does. So after which, once she swings, Alexa Bliss capitalizes, takes down Bayley, gets the pole. Why do I keep saying the kendo stick? My bad. She gets the kendo stick. She starts whacking her with it again, and then after that, I believe Alexa Bliss rebounded off the rope. She was going for some sort of move, and then Bayley hits her with a Bayley to belly. Alexa kicks out. After which, Bayley, she works another slight mean streak. She gets the kendo stick, and then Bliss tackles her yet again, and then she hits her with she throws her into the corner. She hits that DDT, and then she won. Now, my explanation, and I apologize for this, but my explanation took a lot longer than this actual match. It was a very short match. I don't even think it lasted 2 minutes. I'd be surprised if it did. It was a very cat and mouse game, and all it really did was harm Bayley in the end result. It made her look very much like an idiot, to say the least. I was very disappointed in how they treated Bayley throughout this, and I really couldn't believe oh shoot, excuse me. I really couldn't believe the poor treatment of Bayley. This was this is very much a killer for her character. I really cannot believe how badly they treated her like this, and I really hope that Bayley does recover from this, but it's gonna be a little while, that's for sure. She needs to take some time off of, I think in my opinion, she needs to take some time off of chasing the women's belt, because it's gonna do her no good having her, getting thrown to the wolf in Alexa Bliss, especially with the booking they're giving her. I think she needs to go to SmackDown where they'll treat her right. Because I know, if anything can save Bayley, it's SmackDown at this point. So that's kind of a disappointment for Bayley. I hope this program with Nia Jax, which I heard they had a match on Raw. Let me know if that was any good. Then again, how will you let me know? I hope that was a good match, and I hope they work a good program, or at least a better program than Bayley versus Bliss, because that was really a disappointment. Next, we got the Hardy Boys versus Cesaro in a cage match. Now, of course, Cesaro is not their official name, so Sheamus and Cesaro, but I kind of like giving the giving that little Hollywood name. So, this match itself, very good. I liked it a lot. So it starts off with Sheamus and Cesaro trying to escape very quickly, and of course they didn't. The Hardy Boys catch them. They start going for a little bit. Next thing you know, we start seeing Matt pushing Cesaro's head into the cage very repeatedly, while the crowds are chanting "Delete, delete, delete" as his head is hitting the canvas of the cage. Cesaro, we see a few stereo baseball drop kicks from the Hardy Boys. I noticed both team members were sacrificed during this match a few times. Like, for example, Sheamus threw Cesaro into Jeff, who was thrown by Matt, and they just kind of bumped into each other. It was a really funny match, but you know, I think in terms of psychology, it's kind of my only criticism about this match. So there's a few double team spots that I thought were really good. Like, of course, it was good to see the poetry in motion through the cage. Sheamus and Cesaro hit a double Razor's Edge on, I believe it was Matt, after Jeff had escaped, which was another thing. Jeff escaped the match early on, or not early on, but like in the middle of the match, after which Matt was being worked on quite a few times. One pretty cool moment was Cesaro hanging on by his arm from Jeff. Jeff was hanging on from Cesaro. Alright, anyway, you get what I'm trying to say here. If you don't know what I mean, think of the Daniel Bryan cage match with Big Show and Mark Henry in 2012, where Daniel Bryan was hanging on Big Show's hand. Like, it was that kind of spot right there. So after that, I had to leave for a little bit, so I missed the finish of the match. But from what I heard, it was a really good finish. I heard Jeff got back in, did a swanton, and Cesaro and Sheamus escaped and capitalized off of Jeff. So next we got Aries versus Neville, which was easily a technical masterpiece. I was very happy with it. I honestly, I love watching how back and forth they were. It was very competitive. These two had some really smooth chemistry together. I mean, there's some spots that I thought were really cool. I'm trying to go off of memory here. I believe Cesaro did like this cartwheel into like a sunset flip power bomb, or something like that. And then there was a few other spots where there was another sunset flip power bomb into a last chancery, which I thought was a really crazy spot. Yeah, it was a really good thing. Austin Aries had a few submissions early on in the match. There was a few times where we thought Austin Aries was going to win, and there was a few times where Neville just really worked him. But I would say Aries had a little more offense during this match. Austin Aries, he hits the last chancery outside of the ring, and Neville taps, but it doesn't count. So Aries has to drag him by which into the ring, and after this, the match is continuing. Aries, he hits a suicide dive outside onto Neville, but he missed, so Neville's outside. Neville drags him into the ring, and then he hits he hits a red arrow on Aries, who's facing down. He's on his stomach, and this immediately is transitioned into the Rings of Saturn. And Aries is, he's trying to do that. He's trying, and this is kind of funny to me because like he looks like he's just trying to fade away. He doesn't seem like he wants to tap, which I don't blame him. But then he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like, just to finish the match, he ends up doing like a tap or two. So I thought that was kind of funny, the way he just tried to just fade away, but the ref wouldn't let him for some reason. After that, it was a hell of a match. We saw the highlights here and there, but then there was this moment that I don't know if it was just me or what, but the camera zoomed in on Aries, and I don't know if maybe it was the shading, but it looked like he was smiling after the match. Now I don't know what that was about, but I noticed commentary didn't say anything on it either, so who knows? Chances are that wasn't meant to happen, and maybe I was just seeing things, so who knows? So let's get into the next match here. Oh, and here we go, the main event. So Bray Wyatt, after his entrance, he received a surprisingly good amount of reaction from everyone. So that's pretty good for him. I noticed everybody else but Roman is brawling. Roman's just literally watching everything. I thought that was funny. It made no real sense to me why Roman didn't get in there, but I guess it was just to make him look like the intelligent one here. After that, we got Bray and Roman having a little bit of a stare down. Of course, Roman gets the offense early in during this. He looks strong in the beginning. He's just taking out everyone. So anyway, I believe it was Samoa Joe who kind of chopped down Roman's momentum. He hits a tope suicida on Rollins, who dodges, and then Rollins almost instantly after hits a tope suicida of his own. Next thing we got was Joe attacking Roman yet again, and Joe and Bray they ran a faction for the longest time in this match, and I mean the longest time. They went on about a good 2-3 minutes, running roughshod over everyone, which doesn't sound like a long time, but for a faction it kind of is, because usually in these multi-man matches they don't last longer than 30 seconds. Anyway, they hit a good long while, and screw it, I'm probably underselling it with the 2 minutes. They probably won a good 10. And it took until Rollins to finally intervene and stop them temporarily, because then they later factioned up again, and it was kind of funny on some of this, because like during their little tag team, Joe went for a pin, and then like Bray turned around and Joe just made like this, you got me, brother, and just kind of walked on. It was kind of funny. Rollins, he hit a double blockbuster onto Joe and Bray. I thought that was pretty cool. Eventually they teamed up yet again. Bray later on betrayed Joe, and then after that we saw them argue on a little bit after Joe got back up from Bray attacking Roman and Finn for a little bit. After that, Finn Balor kind of takes them both out. Finn Balor, he hits a nasty, and I mean a nasty soccer ball kick onto Roman. Like the way Roman like sold that, I wouldn't be shocked if like he actually took. I wouldn't be shocked if that was just him like actually taking that hit rather than selling. I'm like the way he just like his head damn near disconnected from his neck. That's how nasty that soccer ball kick was. And like even Roman was just like, oh shit, like he didn't know what happened. I thought that was really funny. I thought it was really cool. Like I was just like, wow. Seth Rollins, he hit a frog splash onto Bray through the announcer table. Roman and Seth, they're like staggering to the ring, and it was really cool to me to see how well they sold their injuries. I thought that was really well done, that they were staggering to get there. So after that, they're going at it for about a good 5 minutes or so. They show a great sequence. They really did do a good sequence. They redid their buckle bomb into Superman punch spot. Honestly, after that he Superman punched Bray. Balor counters. He was about to hit Balor into the Superman punch, but then or I believe he went for a spear. Either or. Anyway, the point is Balor countered into a sling blade. After which the coup de grace was hit, and then after that he was gonna go for that pin, but Samoa Joe intervenes. He hits that coquina clutch onto Finn Balor, and he pretty much makes Finn tap out, and pretty much we got Samoa Joe facing Brock Lesnar. Now, I did not expect Samoa Joe to win this. Then again, I was thinking we were gonna get whoever wins to face Lesnar at SummerSlam, but they've officially announced the Great Balls of Fire. So yeah, we're getting Lesnar versus Joe at Great Balls of Fire, and what to say to this? Okay, a couple of notes. I don't really know what to where to begin with this. Okay, all right. So I was very surprised, very taken away from Samoa Joe winning this. I honestly thought Balor or Reigns was gonna be the winner here, but it's cool. It's cool. I'm still very much excited to see Samoa Joe versus Lesnar. I really cannot wait for that match. I hope we see them just brawl it out throughout the entire match. I'm expecting a bare knuckle brawl between these two, in fact. So yeah, that should be a good match. I hope Samoa Joe wins it. You know, for those who want my early prediction on that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is my Extreme Rules 2017 review. Be on the lookout for the next project I'm doing after this. Whenever I break my silence. So for right now, I'm taking a little break, guys. And good night.